The purpose of this lesson is to help you all better understand the elements of a personal narrative so that you can successfully develop your essay for Writing Project 1. You're going to recognize here the same PowerPoint slides that you saw in Module 1 that reviewed the general parts of the essay, and I'm going to be lecturing over them with the specific information that you need as it pertains to developing a personal narrative essay, or in this case for you guys, a defining moment. So, as a quick review, remember that a personal narrative is an essay in which you tell a story from your life. So you're going to be focusing specifically on a defining moment. So an experience where you had an aha or some sort of eye-opener or an epiphany. And because of this experience, you learned a lesson. You had a shift in your understanding of yourself or the way the world works or the people in your lives, but you had some significant lesson that you took away because of this experience. So that's the type of topic that you're going to be focusing on for this essay. So let's get started. As you know, all essays need to begin with an introductory section, and the personal narrative is no different. So you'll see there at the top of that triangle, that inverted triangle, you're going to start with a hook that grabs your reader's attention. You can start with some dialogue from the characters that are involved in the story that you are getting ready to tell, or you can paint a vivid scene that's intriguing that grabs your reader's attention. Once you've grabbed your reader's attention there at the start of your essay, the next purpose of your introductory section then is to make sure you provide the background and the context that your reader needs to understand the story that follows. So remember, this is an introductory section, not an introductory paragraph. So it's likely that this is going to take you a couple of paragraphs to establish the information that your reader needs to be prepared for the story that follows. Of course, normally an introduction ends with that thesis statement there at the bottom of the triangle, and that might be the case for this essay, but oftentimes students find that the thesis statement for a personal narrative fits better at the end of this essay when we review the significance and the lesson learned, because that's your purpose for telling the story. So you might find that in fact you switch your thesis for this essay and put it at the end, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So, once you've developed your introductory section, you're going to get into the body of your essay. For the personal narrative, this is where you tell your story. You'll see here again this same acronym, this PIE, points, illustrations, and explanations. You need to make your points, you need to illustrate them with strong, vivid details to keep your reader interested and to help them fully understand the experience that you're planning to tell. The body of this essay is your defining moment. Remember, this is a defining moment, not a defining stage, which means you cannot cover 4 years of high school soccer in this essay. You need the moment, which is the one game where you realized your skills as a soccer player, or the one interaction that you had with your coach that taught you a valuable lesson about your relationship with him or her, or whatever it is, but it's a moment, not a stage. So in the body of your essay, you are going to develop your story where you explain this moment that led to your aha, your epiphany. Now, a lot of students have a hard time understanding where to divide their paragraphs within the body of their essay when they're telling a personal narrative. So I have an example here, a visual that I want us to look at. It's a comic strip, and you'll see as you look through the comic strip here that this comic strip is telling the story of this girl who's walking her dogs. If you look in that top box there in the right hand, in the upper right of the screen, she's getting her leashes on her dog, she's got her rollerblades on, and she's getting ready to go out. As she works her way through the middle line of the comic strip there, the story continues. She's excited, she's got a smile on her face, things are going well. By the end of that second row, she sees up ahead there's that fire hydrant awaiting her, and she's starting to get concerned about what's going to happen. And then, of course, along the bottom line of the comic strip, we have the climax of her story where she crashes into the fire hydrant. The dogs are waiting for her on the other side, and at the end, of course, she's reflecting dogs. They do the dumbest things. Now, this may not be the most hilarious or entertaining comic strip that you've ever seen, but it works great to help students understand how to divide the paragraphs in your essay when you're telling a story. So that essentially, each one of these boxes in this comic strip is a different scene. Now, if you think of your story and how you would turn it into a comic strip, what would you put in each box to visually work your reader through the events of your defining moment? So you could literally take and draw boxes down on a piece of paper and say, this is what would need to go in this box, this is the second thing, this is the third thing, this is the fourth scene, etc., and work your way through the different boxes that you would need for the comic strip of your defining moment. Now, you guys aren't developing a comic strip, you're writing an essay, but each one of those boxes would need its own paragraph within your essay. So in this case, this author here would need 9, potentially smaller, but at least 9 paragraphs here to develop the story that she wants to tell in her essay. Now, once you've worked your way through your defining moment in the body of your essay, that story, the last thing that you need to do, of course, is to conclude your essay. In the conclusion section of your personal narrative, this is where you are going to reflect on the experience. You're going to explain to the reader why this was significant, what you learned, how it impacted you, how it continues to impact you and or the people involved in this story, and the changes that you've continued to see because of it. That's why many times putting the thesis statement in the conclusion part of your essay for a personal narrative makes the most sense, because that's your purpose, is explaining why this defining moment was significant. So there you have it. Again, you're going to have your introductory section, that main part where you tell your story, and at the end you're going to reflect on the experience and make sure that your reader understands why it was significant.